Did you ever think growing up you'd own your own plumbing company?
No, never.
You know, you were a shit when you were little.
Oh yeah.
Stayed in trouble. Not really trouble. You were just,
Push my boundaries.
yeah, very, very far. But you know what? I can't say anything about that. I mean, God, I've known you since, God, you were born, right around there. Well, you may have been born just a little bit before. But yeah, I've known you since you were just a little bitty turd. Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks.
I don't know. Plumbing's been in the family, and I knew at some point that I would be doing it because, you know, you did it, Gran did it, just everybody in the family did it, and I didn't think I would. I wanted to go to college, and I tried it for, a little bit just in community college.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I got there, I knew it wasn't for me.
Yeah. I knew before I ever walked in college it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I was ready to walk out of high school.
Yep. I wanted, I grew up poor. My grandmother raised me. My mother, father, signed off, parental rights to my grandmother. And she raised me, and she worked 3 jobs just to make things happen around there. She was a widow. And when I got to the age where I knew what the value of a dollar was, I wanted to actually work and make my own money. And when I went to college, I knew it wasn't going to happen for a while, and I knew it wasn't going to be for me. And when I went in college or in high school, all they had was like shop class, mechanical class, which was like CNC machining and stuff like that. And I wasn't really interested in that. I kind of followed in the footsteps of you guys, and it's been great, man. It's been a ride, ups and downs. I think God put me in the place I need to be, and to help people and to help myself. And my kids maybe will grow up and want to do this if they don't pursue anything that they want to do. It's something to fall back on because it's a damn good living. It's hard work, but it's a good living.
Yeah, and the good thing is, as a plumber, if your kids want to go to college, you can actually afford to send them without taking on a lot of student debts and things like that if you so choose to.
Right.
So plumbing was easy for you to pick because, it's what everybody you knew did.
Yeah.
Once you got into it, what did you think about it?
It was kind of overwhelming at first because, I grew up learning the service industry and a little bit of, service commercial and a little bit of, remodels on lease spaces and stuff like that. But it was so overwhelming learning, water, drain, gas, and you got to have tools for each one of these, the process of, or the order of operations on each one of these little tasks that you got to do. And just knowing all the codes. And there's a reason why they make you wait 4 years to get that license. And sometimes I think it should be 6.
And that's funny because I try to turn it around the other way. I always look at how fast can we get people in and get them licensed where they can make money. Because my thought process is, and it depends on who you're trained by, how good you're trained, how good they are.
Right.
So where was your first plumbing job at? This video is sponsored by Leak Pro. Go check out leak-pro.com.
In Garland, probably doing a slab leak, like water slab leak, or
Who'd you work for?
Oh, Speaks Plumbing.
Okay.
Sorry.
So that was your very first plumbing company to work for?
Yep.
Uncle Grant?
Yes, sir. I graduated high school in May of 99, started with him in June or July of 99, and worked until 2021 of March. June
22 years, one company.
Yeah, one company. And then a few months later, I did the forms with the Secretary of State, made sure my business was acknowledged, and did my operating agreement and all that stuff. And there the tables roll.
Good deal. Now, did you know when you left Speaks Plumbing that you were going to open your own company? Had you already set all that up or no?
No, I didn't know that at first. I really had kind of, I had stepped away from plumbing for a second just to, mentally make sure I'm okay if there was something else I wanted to pursue. But then I started thinking, God put me in this position to, better myself and to help other people. And then that's what really prompted me to do it, just listening to myself and, other people around me, and as well as, praying and things happening the way they do. I put it in fate, really.
And I love this because you didn't go through a union training program. You didn't go through PHCC. You did like I did. You went to work for an open shop plumbing company.
Oh, yeah.
And learned how to plumb.
Yep. And in those 22 years that I was at Speaks, when I was an apprentice, I worked for other plumbing companies like Rodney Speak, Grant's brother, on the weekends. And then once I got my license, I worked for you several times doing jobs with Randy. And I was always hustling, trying to learn as much as I could. I was living on one income with a family. It was hard, you know what I mean? So I had to make ends meet. I guess all those things that happened, they are challenges, but they got me prepared for where I'm at today, in a sense.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think plumbers make good money?
Yes, sir. If you hustle.
Yeah, you got to want to be good.
Oh, yeah.
You got to want to be good. You got to want to work. You got to want to earn money.
You got to show up to work. You got to be willing to learn. Don't act like a know-it-all, because there's always something you learn every day.
Junior, I've been in this 44 years now. I still learn stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah. And I have a network of plumbing companies that my friends own that, if I don't know something, I'll call them or I'll call you. Or, I've called the state several times to talk to Johnny Curtin and several other guys just to, because we're a brotherhood or sisterhood too. There's women in this trade as well. And we got to take care of each other. And, I feel like we stand out when we take care of each other, and I think it's a lot of people see that.
It's funny because the people that people notice most on my channels that comment and things like that are the ones that come in and talk trash. They hate. I've had people tell me, I guarantee I've been told 10,000 times, if you worked for me, I'd fire you. Well, your mistake. But I've made a lot of money for a lot of companies along the way. For the most part, it is. And the funny thing is, it's not just plumbers and plumbing. It's the electricians, the HVAC techs, the people we work around on bigger jobs and projects. We all get it. We're all part of the blue collar community. Mm-hmm. And it really is. It's such a big deal. So take just a second and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
My name is Lee Meazle. I'm the owner of Levon Plumbing out in Nevada, Texas. Been in business since 2021 of June. Have 3 employees. We're trying to grow as fast as we can, but I don't want to grow too fast. Go too fast, it causes more stress, and
it can.
I just want to enjoy life and try to teach the guys that I have with me as best as I can to try to, be a good mentor to them. If they want to stay or open their own business, I don't care. I want to make them the best damn plumber that they can be.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. So 2021, 2024, you've owned your own company for 3 years.
Yeah.
Apparently hadn't pulled out all your hair yet because you still got some.
Just a little gray.
There you go. Let's go back to going to work for an open shop company to learn plumbing, to get your license and all. Okay. How long did it take you to get your license?
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, and back then they didn't really keep up with the hours. Like, I didn't even have an apprentice card. It was just off payroll, I think.
Right. Had to get your master plumber to sign off on it.
Oh, yeah, and I got my tradesman to begin with, and I was like one of the first ones. It was like 172 was my tradesman.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I think it was in 2002.
So for everybody watching, the tradesman license is something Texas has that a plumber can get, or an apprentice can get after 2 years of plumbing. And it means they can work on single family and 2-family dwellings. So either a single family house or a duplex.
Right.
And you're licensed to do anything and everything in there.
Oh, yeah.
How did it feel getting your tradesman and finally being in a van all by yourself and going out to do a job?
I knew what to do. It's just overwhelming doing it by yourself and not having, moral support of somebody that's been there teaching you for so long. Mm-hmm. The hardest part was filling out invoices, because when you fill out these invoices, you almost have to be like a lawyer. You have to note,
word everything,
your butt for insurance reasons and stuff. And that was the hardest part to me, is trying to figure out how to be a good plumber with the paperwork, not just being a good plumber in, the skilled trade, because it is an aspect in the office, out in the field, doing paperwork. I mean, it's all the way around a circle. Mm-hmm. And
I love
all of them.
I love that. One thing that I liked and I used to tell my plumbers to do is, look, have that apprentice fill out the paperwork.
Mm.
Coach them through it, teach them. And that way, basically, it does two things. Number one, your apprentice knows how to fill it out. So when he goes out on his own, if he's by himself, it's easy to do. But number two, if you're driving to the next job, you're putting in notes, stuff like that. He can be doing that while you're driving.
Right, making a material list from the stuff he used the job before, making
what do you need to order?
Stocked on the van the next day.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of little things like that. Yes, sir.
So you're out in Lavon, so you don't have plumbing supply companies just right around the corner from you.
No, it takes me 30 to 45 minutes to get to a plumbing supply house. So I try to keep them stocked, make sure my apprentices, like you said, they're doing something to, keep me more efficient as well as their production as well. Yeah, and it's about 35 minutes to Morrison, but I hear they're supposed to be building one in Fay here pretty soon.
Really?
Yeah.
Morrison?
I don't know if it's a Morrison or what, but it's a plumbing supply house. Wasnt water coolers is a little bit closer, but that's about it, man. I have to use like hardware stores sometimes when I'm in Farmersville or drive all the way to McKinney. And being in a rural area, you'll find that when they build houses, they're outside the EOJ, that they use whatever they can. So you have to, it's like a handyman's nightmare.
It's bad. I tried that for a while and I was like, man, this is nuts. And I mean, you've mentioned some great companies. Morrison's being taken over by Reese, and that's part of their growth plan is to grow and expand. You said Winston Water Cooler, and it's so funny because I got to talk to Mr. Zane Butter the other day. He's one of the owners of Winston Water Cooler. I've got a friend talking to them about going to work for them, so it's a company I've always liked.
They're family owned.
You bet.
And I like that too.
And they're Longhorns.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Makes it a good thing.
Yes, sir.
So when you were an apprentice and even a tradesman, you're working with some really good plumbers. What made you want to learn to be a really good plumber, to do things right?
Reputation. I don't know. I grew up playing sports, pretty competitive. And when you're wearing that jersey, your name's on the back of it. And the way you act, the way you play, everything is your reputation. And I feel that kind of went over into my trade and my career. I had a lot of respect for my name because of my grandfather and the way people spoke about him. And I wanted to have the same kind of reputation because it meant a lot to me. And I don't want to do no wrong to anybody. I'd rather give them something for free before they ever slander my name or do anything. That's it. Basically, just reputation. I just want to, if someone says my name, I want them to say, hey, he's a good dude. He taught me, well, and he stood behind his word.
We worked together with the same plumber. One of my first plumbers was Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good plumber.
Well, he's the Godfather of plumbers to me.
He, and it's neat because I asked Austin the same type of question one time. I said, why do you always want to do things right each and every time? Because Austin is anal retentive about it. It's like everything has to be perfect. And I asked him one day, I said, why are you this way? Why is it everything? And I just wanted to know because we're all different. We all see it different.
Yes, sir.
And I asked him, I said, why is it you do everything perfect on every single job you do? Because I've never seen Austin take a shortcut, half do anything. I mean, nothing. It's all 100% perfect or we ain't doing it.
Yep.
And I asked him, yeah, and it's going to look good. And I asked him that one day, and he literally said, Roger, he said, I never wanted to be out at a restaurant or, at the hardware store or anywhere. And I've got me and I've got my family with me. And somebody came up and said, hey, you did us wrong. Or you cheated us, or you jacked us over, you stole money from us, anything at all like that.
Right.
He said, I always wanted to make sure every time I went out, I did the best job that could possibly be done. And it's like, man. And I'll tell you a quick story about him too, because I had him and Lynn working with me one day. And Lynn had hopped in a hole and was up under our house working. And Austin kept saying, man, get out of there. Come on, get out of here. Let me do it. Get out. And Lynn's like, man, I got it. So Austin literally, we're all doing something. And Austin goes over and unplugs the power cord and have no idea. And Lynn's at her home and he's like, hey, something's wrong. Can't see. Like, what do you mean what's wrong? He said, everything looks good out here. He said, no, there's something wrong. He said, well, climb out. He said, let's see what the problem is. So Lynn comes out and he's, man, I don't know what to do. I lost price. He said, well, go check the GFCI or something. And he walks off. Austin goes back over and plugs it in, hops down in the hole. But I mean, that was Austin.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I want to do it. I want to do it right. I want to do it perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% sure you're going to do that every single time. And don't get me wrong, Lynn was a great plumber.
Oh yeah.
But, you know, Austin to me is just, Austin's the one who's always look, this is how you do it. And there's only one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the right way. It's not my way. It's not somebody else's way. This is the right way to do it. And that's how we do it.
Yep.
And man, it's such a great thing to learn. Because, I don't know, you ever worked around any plumbers that weren't that great too?
Oh yeah, that don't have any quality control.
No quality control. They don't care what it looks like. They don't
Put it
care
in,
if it's a shortcut. Yeah.
See that way too often.
I remember it's funny, you know, talking about Grant. He called one day and he had a plumber working for him. Don't remember the guy's name. And this lady calls and says, hey, I think y'all made a mistake under my sink. I turned it on and it's water's everywhere now. She said, really? He says, that doesn't sound right. He says, well, holler at so-and-so. Says, he's still there. Says, oh no, he left about an hour and a half ago. Says, well, what? I don't know if Grant goes over or what. He didn't he had changed out a sink. He didn't put the P-trap on and just ran off and left. And I think he had gone to a movie or something. I don't even know what he done, but he wasn't where he was supposed to be.
Oh man.
And you know, that's one thing Austin taught me. Look, check it, test it, check it, test it over again.
Oh yeah.
And that way, you know, you don't have to come back to it.
Yep. Helps production, efficiency, all that.
It's huge.
Yes, sir.
So what's it like working with bad plumbers?
I feel sorry for them sometimes. Like, I just feel like maybe they were taught or by the wrong person, or I don't know. I inherited an employee that was taught like that. He had a plumber that was an asshole to him. Anytime he did something wrong, he would tell him to fix it. And then whenever he fixed it, he would never explain what he did wrong. And then he would tear it out again and just do it himself. That's not the right way to go about anything in life. So, luckily I put my time and invested in him, and he's, you know, got his license now and he's being on the right track, learning properly. But I feel like a lot of that's, you know, egotistical plumbers that just don't care about anything else but themselves. Like I said, we're a brotherhood, sisterhood, and we should be taking care of ourselves because we're our own trade. I mean, you know, you see what happens, you know, a few years ago before the sunset, you know, we were all kind of worried that we were about to lose our license.
You bet.
So it means something to me, and I hope it means something, you know, to everybody out there that are in the trade.
If you hire somebody now, if you hire an apprentice, do you want one that's completely green, or do you want one that says, hey man, look, I got a year's experience or so? That's
a tough question, man. I've had my fair share of ones that are green, and then I've had my fair shares that aren't, that come in and think they know it all. So sometimes I feel like I lean towards the green ones. You know, Teos Plumbing, he hires a lot of guys that don't know nothing and that come from like work at other trades or do other things. And I think I like that kind of, you know, that way about going about hiring people, because sometimes they feel like you're investing a lot into them instead of just it's jumping around to another company from another plumber, you know. So, but that's a thin line. It's all on your own opinion on how you run your business and what you prefer. But I've seen it, so that's what I'm going to start leaning towards.
And you know, and look, Dustin's great. Dustin is great at training people. Dustin, number one, is a really, really good plumber.
Oh yeah.
And that makes a big difference. I used to tell my guys before I'd send them out, every house you walk in, pretend it's your mother or your grandmother. What would you do? How would you treat them? Yeah. And well, no, because a lot of times at their own house, they'll shortcut things.
Yeah, that's true.
And because they're like, well, I know this will work. And my thought is, if you can get people to believe into that philosophy of always doing the right thing. And, you know, you talk about plumbers out there that were trained that way. We had a lady call us over at Texas Green Plumbing one day. She called and says, look, She said, I had another plumbing company come out. She says, really, I had my air conditioning company come out. She says, I have a home warranty. She said the air conditioning guy came out, went up in the attic, says, ma'am, look, you've got a gas leak up here. So I can't really do anything up here till you get that fixed. And he knew she was home warranty. So he told her, look, call the plumbing company, get them out here. Plumber comes out, knocks on the door. She says, hey, I got a gas leak up in my attic. Need to get that fixed so the HVAC guy can come fire up the furnace and do all that. So he says, okay. He says, give me a minute. Let me check things outside. Lori goes outside. 5 minutes later comes to the door and says, you have a leak on your service between the meter and the house. I've turned off the gas. If you want it turned back on, we need to replace the service. It's $10,000. Sign this piece of paper. And she's like, I ain't signing that. And he's like, man, like, I can't leave till you sign it. Oh, yeah, you can. And she called our office, and you can hear the tears in her voice. And she's talking, and she says, you know, I was cussing, and then I started praying, and I turned on the computer, and I found y'all. So we sent a plumber over there. He was up in the attic for about 2 hours, found 3 leaks, fixed them, tested the yard service, no problem at all. Cost her $800, $900, something like that. Plumbers like that blow my mind.
They're the bad apple in the tree for sure.
And then they hurt the trade.
Yes, sir.
Because now when people hear stories like that, they assume every plumber's like that. And for the most part, they're not. How do you make sure when you hire people that you teach them to do the right thing?
They have to believe in your values, your morals, and you have to, you know, I guess groom them to be that way if they're not that way. A lot of times, if they see that you're investing time in them, they'll change, especially if they notice improvement, like money, mental health. That's the biggest reward, is the mental health, especially when you invest in somebody and show that you care about them and that you want to see them be successful like yourself. That's where I saw people by leaps and bounds grow. And that's my philosophy, is try to help people in that way, so that way they can be as good as me. And I'm not perfect by any means, but like
none of us are.
We learn something every day, and I'm not an egotistical person that feels like I know it all. I've always learned something, and mostly from the older gentlemen. But I still learn stuff from the new guys because they're on the trendy stuff, and sometimes they'll put some in my face, and
didn't know why that was there. Yeah,
you have to be open to every age group. But learn a lot.
What was the hardest thing about starting your own company?
Administration. Definitely administration.
You know, I thought that whenever you said earlier, you said you have 3 people working for you. I started to say, is that you the entrepreneur, you the manager, and you the technician?
Well, then that would be 6. No, yeah, just 3. I do all the paperwork. I used to do all writing stuff and spending hours after I worked at nighttime, messing time with family to do all the taxes, sales tax, payroll taxes, whatever. It's a headache. And when you work in the trade and you were never taught that, it's kind of hard. The learning curve is hard. Just trying to know it all, because it's hard if you don't have a CPA or bookkeeper. When I first started, I didn't have that. I had to learn all that stuff myself. And I didn't learn that from prior companies that I'd worked for. They didn't teach that in school either. They should teach that stuff in school.
Yeah, entrepreneurship should be its own course.
And taxes and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. And then once I finally started getting some income coming in, some revenue, I started reinvesting into myself, not paying myself more, because the first year and a half, I didn't pay myself nothing. And thank God for my wife to keep me afloat for during that time. But I started integrating and investing in like software, trying to make myself as productive as possible, trying to have the latest equipment that I can possibly afford at that time. And if I couldn't, that's what I call myself. I have these rocks. They're like goals that I have. And after I get one of them knocked out, I start going towards the next one. But I always make a list and figure out which one is my top priority rock. And then I go towards that, and I reinvest into that, so that way I know I'm putting as much back into the company to me, that's more important than paying myself more. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes my plumbers will make more than me, but
Oh, I've been there.
I put more money into the company, try to reinvest in SEO or whatever, all the expenses that go along with
You bet.
business. Money ain't always happiness. I try to give quality work versus value. People don't like my price. They're more welcome to call around, call me back, say, hey, you're not in my ballpark. Could you help me out a little bit? I'd be more than willing to, but I always put quality over value.
Well, and you say over value. It's not over value. It's over price.
Yes.
Because value is what they get. To me,
I guess so.
you can charge more, but if you give great service and the job's done professionally and right and all that, they're getting great value.
Yeah. There's no callbacks. They're coming back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I completely get that. Yeah. I knew when you were comparing it to the word value, that's the wrong word because value is what they're getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's wrong with the trade. Like I look at architecture too. You remember back in the old days, the architectural buildings, they took longer to build or have more characteristics to them. And nowadays they can build a building in no time. And it just looks like a modern square box, like just a box. And there's no, I don't know, no characteristics to anything.
And they call it Art Deco or something, Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's the quality of all trades has come downhill a little bit.
Yeah, and that's neat, and it's a good way to look at it because I do travel a lot now. And, New York, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, a lot of these older cities that I go to, it's like, man, I just love walking around and just looking.
Blows your mind.
Yeah, and it's like, wow, this is really neat. And it's like, you look at a building, it's like this building's been here, 120 years, and it's like, wow, check this thing out.
Yeah.
And it is. It's really, really neat. So starting your own business, everybody thinks, I want to start my business so I can make more money. And I think that's a great long-term goal.
Yes, sir.
When you first start your business, you don't make a lot of money, do you?
You don't make nothing.
And you work more and harder than you ever have.
In your whole life. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah. But if you have no other option and you have to do it, you'll do it.
Oh, you've always got options. You're a good plumber.
Yeah.
There's always options.
You can't sit on the couch and expect it to happen.
Oh, no. But a lot of people think that that's what it is.
No. It's networking, working your butt off, doing a lot of admin, spending a lot of money, and hoping to get some in return. That's pretty much how it works.
When I talk about SEO and social media and all that, I don't even look at it anymore as invest it and hope you get some return. It's like, look, what is the ROI on every dollar I invest?
Right.
Because I'm looking at, I'm not just throwing money at this to make the phone ring. I want to know how much did the phone ring. If I threw $10 at it, did I make $40 back? If I threw $50 at it, did I make $300 back? What are my numbers like? Because to me, that's huge. Your SEO's got to get better because we pulled up your site last time I was here, and it's like, okay, you got zeros where you need numbers.
I'm working on that.
Good. No, I knew you would.
I just put some money into that. But I have to. It's just like budgeting for your household, stuff, or I just try to allot for certain times of the quarters where I can put money certain places, and always take care of my employees first before that, and I pay myself last.
Oh, I've been there. I was there for a long time, so I get it.
But yeah, SEO definitely needs to be better on my site for sure. I'm glad you're looking at that, keeping up on time.
Man, hey, I tell you what, since I started down this whole "Are you Googleable" thing, I look at it for everybody. The guy we brought in the other day for training on leak detection, he says, "Man, I want to grow. You remember what score we had for your domain? His was 0.5 above yours."
Wow.
And I'm like, and we did. We went through and looked at his domain and said, "Hey, you're only getting 10 clicks a month on your website, 10." And he's like, "How do you know that?" And it's like, I started showing him all my numbers. And he said, how do you do this? It's like, man, this is what I've become. Look, I started doing social media because I lost $47,000 to marketing companies. You said you hired a marketing company or paid somebody to do something. What I finally figured out is, wait, 97% of these marketing companies you pay aren't really doing what they tell you. And just because you give them $1,000 doesn't mean they're doing $1,000 worth of work, it probably means they've got somebody that they're paying $100 to do some things, and they're going to send them $100, and then they're going to go spend your $900. And anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, SEO and marketing are something that every plumbing company, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, we need to know it. We need to know how to do it. And if we do it with the wrong people, and there's a lot of wrong people out there, I think it's just the opposite as plumbers. You know something you said a while ago? I think most plumbers want to do the right thing. Every now and then you get a bad apple that was taught by another bad apple, and all he learned is how to cheat people. Come out, turn their gas off, tell them it's 10 grand. They'll turn it back on. Guess what? Can really run right along the top of the ditch with a shovel, break up the dirt, and tell them you replaced it.
Right.
You know, there's people out there like that. And I'm like, I've seen it. And I'm like, y'all are freaking joking. This is how you're making a living? At the end of the day, I think most marketing companies just look at plumbers as, this is easy money. This guy's doing $1 million a year in sales. If I can get him to give me $100 grand, which they say every company, every residential service company should be spending about 10% for marketing. I know. But that's just to stay where you're at.
Right.
Now, I've talked to some of the biggest plumbing companies in town, and they've literally told me when we're in growth mode, we spend 12% until that 12% becomes 10%. So if they're doing $1 million a year, instead of spending $100,000, they'll spend $120 grand until they're doing $12 million a year. Mm-hmm. Then they're like, now that's 10% again. So now if we want to grow again, now we'll bump it up to what? 140, 160, somewhere around in there.
I've been lucky because
144. Yeah, it is. but I mean, and you know what
you're talking about?
Big yeah, I'm talking about big companies. I'm talking about companies that are doing $100 million a year.
Yeah.
But I know how they got there, and that's how they're getting there. They're saying, look, I'm going to spend 10% of everything I make on marketing. But you got to spend it with the right marketing people. And you watch them do this, and you watch them grow, and then you talk to them and realize y'all started out just like I did. Just me in a truck, or you had 2 plumbers or 2 electricians or whatever it is. And you talk to them and you figure, look, it's just, there's a system and process to go through. And when you find the right system and process and you're going through it the right way, it works. That's why there's so many companies doing it like that.
I've been fortunate enough to where mine's all been by word of mouth, organic. Maybe that's why my SEO sucks so bad right now. Because
organic's what I look at.
I value my reputation, and
you bet.
You know, I'm hoping that I have, the customers' houses that I go to end up being lifelong customers, mm-hmm. and I don't want to go there once and be done with them.
Absolutely,
I want to be able to go back for the rest of my life. Actually become good business relationships with these folks, and hopefully, like I said, my kids may work for them one day or something like that, but I want them to be able to call me back. And I haven't invested a whole lot in SEO, and that's what's kept my business busy, is just organic.
You bet. No. In organic, now SEO is organic, just so you know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Pay-per-click is the difference. SEO, search engine optimization, organic is where you build your web page to where when people are searching, they find you.
Okay.
The other is pay-per-click, and what that is when you say, I want to spend $100 a day to run ads. There's $100 going to run you 1 or 2 ads, and you hope that those convert, because then you spend 100, you want to make really 1,000.
Sure.
You want to make 10%, or you want to spend 10%. So that's what that is, and that's how you look at that. And if we have time here in a little bit, we'll pull yours up and look at the numbers and show you what I'm looking at. But now that you've got your own company going, and you said you got 3 employees, what are your employees? What do they do?
Plumber, apprentice, and I'm the third.
And then you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I could be the other 3, like you were talking about earlier, but I want to grow slow and just make sure I teach good morals and values to my plumbers. Like I said, I want to be a good mentor, so that way, if they want to stay, that's fine. If they want to open their own business one day, they have the knowledge and the know-how, mm-hmm. and not kind of like jump into it like I did and have nothing hardly taught to me about it, and have to end up going to business school for a little bit. And I did that for the first year.
Good.
So that helped me out a lot, but a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
No. The thing is, they've all got the opportunity.
Yeah.
Just most of them don't do it.
Yeah.
No, you're looking at it in a smart way. And I think that'll help you a lot. So you've been in business 4 years. What's the hard part now?
3 years, going on 3.
Okay.
The hard part now is...
That's right, 21 to 24.
Trying to get to everybody. I'm going through that transition where I actually need to put on... I have another van, but I need to probably either start running it myself or hire another, 2 guys to start running that. I don't know if I could keep them busy enough, but that's why I started doing some SEO, trying to pick up that revenue so that way I could possibly keep that second van busy. But that's the hardest part, trying to transition from that phase to the next phase and not doing it too fast, because it can come back and bite you in the ass if you have all these expenses you have, but you don't have no revenue coming in to pay those expenses. So it's a thin line you got to walk, and you don't want to have too much profits, because then that's, Uncle Sam's going to take.
He's got to get it all. And it's all about building a budget and knowing how to stay within that budget and use that budget. The thing is, I did when I started my company, it was just me. And I ran calls until I was busy 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Then I brought in a plumber. I brought in a tradesman. And then I realized he had problems, so I needed to bring in a plumber. So I hired Lynn, brought Lynn in. And when I brought them in, and Lynn worked with the tradesman for a while, and I let them run it as long as they could. So when I brought them in, I'd get out and start marketing. I'd go talk to real estate companies. I'd go talk to anybody I could until it got so busy they couldn't handle all the calls. Then I'd run the other van. And then I'd go till I was busy and I'm not getting out and getting to market and network anymore. Then I think I hired Austin or David. Anyway, I'd try to stay in the truck as long as I could until I'm busy. I can't.
I'm learning from your testimony, and, there's stuff that I didn't know that, and that's a good way to go about it.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Because then at night, guess what? You're doing all the paperwork.
Yep.
Or you've got a wife that says, hey, let me help, which is what Julie did.
Yep.
That's what got her into plumbing. She hated it later, but no, not really. She's really good at it. But I looked at it like, how do I do this where I'm the most productive? Because, Grant told me when I started my company, he said, when you first start, you'll make money. When it's you by yourself, you're going to make all kinds of money. When you have trucks 2, 3, and 4, it's hard to make money. He said, but once you start getting into truck 5, you can start making money again. And it's just because of all the expenses and dividing it just between trucks 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's a lot there for them to absorb, so it's hard to show a profit.
Right.
Then by the time you get up to 5, 6, and up, okay, now it's looking a lot better because that cost, the rent, the lease, the equipment, the insurance, whatever it is, now it's spread out a lot wider, and it's easier to absorb. So you bet. It really does. Grant's a smart guy to talk to about it.
He knows the zeros. I know that.
He knows what the numbers look like. So what's next for you?
Keep on pushing forward. I'm trying to get my kid, he's in high school now. Next year, he's going to be going in 10th grade. He's going to be starting in the construction program. And I'm actually going to go speak at his school. Hopefully his teachers, construction teacher, wanted me to come up there and speak and try to promote plumbing and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that and trying to push the new gen into this kind of trade and just try to grow myself and get better at what I do. Leave it up to the man upstairs.
All we can do is all we can do.
Yes, sir.
So something we're doing new here. Tell me about the worst plumbing job you've ever had. Worst plumbing job you've ever done.
Probably kitchen drains broken underneath either slabs or pier beam homes. It's gross, man. Especially if they let it leak for a really long time. I had one when I was probably first getting into this, and kitchen drain was underneath the pier beam house. It'd probably been leaking for several years, and we had to pump a little bit of it out. And then once we got underneath there, it was so bad. Underneath the whole house were maggots. And so we had to roll out plastic and try to fix this so that way they could come in, put lime or whatever else underneath the house, or try to biohazard, the underneath part. But when you're crawling on the plastic and you see the maggots and stuff crawling underneath you, and it's just gross, man. And it took me a long time to get over that. That and claustrophobia.
Yeah.
But that's probably the dirtiest job, nastiest that I've ever been on. And a lot of like water slab leaks are really dirty and nasty too. I don't really mind the sewer stuff. It's the kitchen. It grosses me out.
Kitchens can be nasty.
Yes.
All right. I like that.
That's probably the worst one I've ever had. What about you?
Well, hold on. Let's keep going here. Tell me about the best plumbing job you ever had.
I got to work at Clayton Kershaw's house when I was probably about 5-6 years ago, and I had no idea that I was at his house. So I did some work at his mother-in-law's house, and she's like, "Hey, you come over to my son-in-law's house," and went over there and go up to the front door, and I think it's his wife's brother answered the door and showed us what was going on. And I look over and I see ESPN have an interview with this guy. I'm like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "That's Clayton Kershaw." So that was the coolest thing I ever got to do or experience while doing plumbing. But I think the coolest plumbing job I ever had was working for you at the McDonald's factory, like putting the cooling fans and stuff in the big old warehouse.
Right.
That was a cool experience for me because I didn't do a lot of commercial work, and that always stuck in my head as a good memory.
I have got to do some fun jobs. So that's my worst. My worst was probably we got a call one day, and it's out of our area, but Grand Prairie. A lady had called and said, "Look, I need somebody to come fix my house, or the city's going to turn it off." And Julie called the city and said, "Hey, is this legit?" And they said, "Yeah." They said, "Oh, look, this lady's blind. Oh, no, this lady's in a wheelchair. Her husband is blind. Her son has dementia, and we know she's in a hardship." They said, "But we have to turn the water off. It's leaking so bad it's flooding the neighbor's yard." So, Junior, I get over there, and I knock on the door, and she comes and enters the door, and she's in a wheelchair, and she's got a blanket covering her, and she said, "I'm going to let you come in." She says, "But please understand, I can't get out of the wheelchair and clean my house." And I walked in, and it blew my mind. And she takes me around to the bathroom, and the bathroom had been being used. They had the water turned off most of the time. The tub was running, and you couldn't even see the tub. There was so much used toilet paper thrown in it. It was rough. But we ended up tunneling up under that house and fixing 2 leaks so she could keep her water on. Rebuilt the tub, rebuilt the toilet, got everything in the house to stop running, and cleaned up that bathroom, and did that. That's probably the worst. That's the one that always jumps out and sticks out. Not only is it the worst job, it's one you do for free. That's why I've said, if it was your mother's house or your grandmother's house, what would you do?
Right. And they're probably on Social Security and can't afford it.
Yeah, they couldn't afford it.
Especially with the inflation nowadays.
Yeah, no, this is a long time ago.
Oh.
But it was it was my plumbing company, so I could do what I wanted to do. And I said, "You know what, we'll take care of this." We paid the dig crew, we did everything. So,
That's
and then
the kind of values I have.
It's what
you do it for everybody. But
you bet.
That says a lot about you, man. And
It's just, it's funny because whenever I got my HVAC certification, there was Professor Bill, and he came in to teach our class one day. Tony had to do something over at the University of Dallas, and Professor Bill came in, and remember, I'm in an HVAC room. It's probably about as wide as from here to that wall, and there's like 4 people sitting on a row. There's just enough room to walk down between it, and there's probably 5 or 6 rows. And Professor Bill comes in. He says, "So what are y'all supposed to be learning today?" And we told him the boiling point of different refrigerants. And he said, "Tony can teach y'all that next time." He says, "I'm going to talk to y'all about customer service." He said, "Just about customers." And the one thing that he said, there are people in this world that can afford to pay you what you charge, so that you can afford to take care of the people in this world that can't afford to pay you what you charge.
I agree with that. And I've had that same thing happen to me. Like I've been to a customer's house and it's like you have this intuition, like something talking to you inside, like you know that you're doing the right thing.
You bet.
And it's something you can't explain. But I've done that same thing for a few people, and it's not something I do all the time, but it's definitely, it's like it's someone inside's telling me to, so I have to.
No, I get it. And then probably one of my best jobs was probably Great Wolf Lodge. I got to build the indoor water park.
That's awesome.
And I was the superintendent over it. So I got to help rough it in, top it out, build it, hook it up. I left the job right before it was finished. And it's funny because Randy came out there and he ended up finishing out all the mechanical rooms for me.
Oh,
so yeah, I got a job offer for another company, and it was like they needed me to go right then. It's like, okay, I've got this job where it'll finish out just fine. And it did. So yeah, probably two of my favorites.
Radio Shack right after that.
I did Radio Shack before that. Yeah. Radio Shack, the Riverfront campus. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's neat because I worked at a company where the president of the company told me one day, or one of the vice presidents said, Roger, I've got probably 4 to 5 superintendents that could do $20 million jobs and bigger. And you're one of them. So it's pretty neat feeling.
Impressive,
yeah, it is pretty neat feeling. So, number one, this has been a lot of fun. Great stuff. I want to go back. The day you walked out of high school, if you could go back and catch little Junior coming out the front door the day after graduating high school, what would you go back and tell him now, based on everything you know right now?
Don't think you know it all when you're young. I was really bad about that when I was younger. I kind of grew into who I am. Save your money and educate yourself as much as possible. Not on social media platforms or anything like that.
No, wait, don't be dissing YouTube, man.
No, not YouTube. I'm talking about like STEM stuff and, educational stuff, not just sitting there watching, people that are
TikTok.
I love what you do. You're trying to, promote the trade and try to push it. And, maybe I can ask you to come talk at the school, if the teacher allows it, because we need to push our youth to try to get this. The average age of a plumber right now is like 55 years old.
58.
Yep. When the baby boomers retire, there's not going to be hardly anybody left.
That's about 7 years from now.
So I feel like Texas is, I see several states in the United States that are starting to push vocational, and Texas is there. I don't think they're where I'd want them to be, but it all has to do with the TEA, the school districts and stuff like that in the state. But if that was around when I was in school, I would have probably went that route instead of went to college first. And I would have been ahead of where I was, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I feel like all kids should have that opportunity instead of being in debt. Because my wife went to college and we're still paying on that.
Oh, no, I get it.
And so, that's 20 years down the road. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working for 20 years debt free.
Yeah.
25 plus, so I'm probably in a lot better position than she was, at when we were younger anyways. But I would just try to save your money, listen to your elders, educate yourself as much as possible. I didn't have that mindset when I was younger. I was just, I had my money, my paycheck every Friday. I wanted to go party, do all that stuff. And that's something that Grant never did. He wasn't that type of person. He used to,
Grant used to do that. Don't you believe that?
Well, when I was growing up, I didn't see him do that much. I know he did when you and him were growing up.
Absolutely.
I've heard stories. But he was one of those type of people that taught me, I was a person that nothing good goes on after 12 p.m.
You bet.
Your ass should be
pretty much true.
And just save your money. He was a saver, so that's the way I started after he mentored me that way and helped me out a lot. So I recommend saving money because, nowadays it's hard to get by.
You bet.
Inflation. I don't know. Do you have anything you would add to that?
No, that's good. I like that.
I really wish schools in the state would help, the younger generation, because I just see the hourly rate of a plumber going way up, especially after all the babies.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
I see us at over, plumbers making $100 an hour, close to it.
I've been saying that for years. It's coming.
Because it's coming.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe it.
Junior, thank you.
No, thank you for inviting me, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it.